Our long national nightmare is now over as the Cowboys and CeeDee Lamb have finally agreed to a contract extension. We'll break that down for you guys here on today's live show. A significant extension for CeeDee Lamb. If you are glad the Cowboys have paid 88, then type 88 for me in the comment section of today's video. As I think about this, Chris, if you want to build a second player with like the contract details, that probably is a good idea there. A 4-year deal. It's also in the pin poll, by the way, if you can't see it. 4-year deal, $136 million total, with $100 million guaranteed, which if you've been watching our projections, that was $1 million more on our overall and $1 million less guaranteed than what I predicted. Because it wasn't actually hard of a contract to figure out. This is what it was going to take the entire time. And the Cowboys just had a really tough time getting to this point for whatever reason. And they finally get the deal done on the eve of roster cut-down time frame. Gives CeeDee Lamb almost full 2 weeks to get back up to NFL speed. He's obviously looks like he's in pretty damn good shape away from the team. He's back now, and the free square of the Cowboys offseason can finally be checked. Finally can be checked off, which it took far too long to get there, but at least we're here now. A lot of 88s in the comments section, which it was a no-brainer. You had to do this. However you feel about the rest of the roster and what the Cowboys' plan should be, if you wanted to win games now, you need CeeDee Lamb. If you want to rebuild, you know what really helps you rebuild with a new young QB is giving him a superstar caliber, all-pro, 25-year-old wide receiver. That's what you need. There's a lot of other teams out there around the NFL that would kill for a player of Lamb's caliber. Dallas finally takes care of their own and spends some money, which I think this actually gets them above the minimum cash spending they had to hit, by the way. I think that gets them above the minimum. Several super chats to get to here. First up from Hawkeyes. I'll also shout out Danny Whitney. I think that one got lost from earlier because we were behind getting live, so it happens. Actually, we weren't behind. We were ahead, but it came in super early. Took long enough. Congratulations, CD. Get that money, honey. Appreciate that. Danny had said, hyped Tom, but like you said, it took too long. Doesn't feel as good as I would have liked. Again, you're not wrong. It took a very long time for that deal to get done. We all would have been really happy if they did this in March. In August, it's more relief than excitement. From Massive Matt, I was damn ready to shit on JJ's lawn, man. Shouldn't have taken this long, but at least it's done. Now make a decision on Dak, and let's get the year going. You also should have made your decision already. I do wonder if waiting this long also means you've made your decision on Dak Prescott. I guess they can prioritize it better. I have my doubts a Dak deal gets done. It took a very long time for the Lamb one to get done. That one I felt was a lot easier. So maybe my expectations are too low. Again, if you wanted to pay both guys, you should have paid both guys in March because you could have freed up $30-something million in salary cap space, give or take. This extension for Lamb, still details like actual nitty-gritty flow details to be determined. If they did the extra void year like most teams do when it's a 4-year contract, if they did we're going to reduce the base salary down to nothing, you're probably going to save $9-ish million in salary cap space this year with this contract because you're going to bring down that extra option. I guess you don't need the void year technically because you already have that 5th-year option on top of it. But you're going to save around $9 million from that perspective. Now, today's live Cowboys Report is made possible by Game Time. Game Time has a new feature. It's called Game Time Picks. That makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. It filters out the fluff to show you only the incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. It's just the deals on sports, comedy, concerts, theaters, and more. I'm a big fan of the See the View from your seat feature on Game Time, kind of like a live photo. You can just move your phone around and get an actual view of what your seat's going to be, so you're not... I forget which game it was one year where there was the guy at the college football game who was just behind a wall and couldn't see anything. Imagine paying money for that. Not an issue with Game Time because you'll see your view. So download the Game Time app, create your account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, but again, Create your account. Redeem code CHATSPORTS, Chat Sports, for $20 off. Download Game Time today, because what time is it? It's game time. Links in the comments and the live chat of today's show. The breaking news of the day, a 4-year, $136 million contract extension to CeeDee Lamb from the Cowboys. Jacko's got a $20 super chat. I lived around the corner from Jerry. You have to climb a high fence to shit on his lawn. By the time you got over, you would have crapped yourself. He does. Driven by his house, he does have a very, very tall wall around that, which isn't a huge surprise there. Appreciate that $20 super chat, Jacko. From Gatlin, $2. Now that Lamb is back, my fantasy is saved. LOL. So I have my main draft on Wednesday. I was convinced they were gonna do the Lamb deal at that time. That I was gonna be in the third round of my draft, and the Cowboys signed CeeDee Lamb and went, well, guess I got to go do this now. I was convinced that was going to be the case. I'm glad it's not. It would have been nice to do it on a normal day, because the Cowboys also cut 14 players today. We would have done a bit on that. Now it's going to get delayed. GH24, it's over for now. If it was this bad with CD, imagine Micah. It's going to be pretty similar. It's going to be dragged out if they pay him, and it'll be they're going to throw the leadership quotes right back in his face. They already kind of did. Guarantee that one is going to happen. It's also going to be more expensive for Micah Parsons this time next year. Ecuador man AOG, so CD didn't take every penny. Why does Dak have to? Who's saying Dak has to, though? The couple main differences here. I think CD taking every penny would have been like getting above Justin Jefferson money, which he didn't. He took a little bit less from that perspective. He didn't go quite as high on that front. The Dak getting every penny is refusing to sign, hitting the open market, and getting insert check here. Because there's no 2 years of franchise tag and a 5th-year option. That's what makes that Dak contract so unique and set up for failure with the way you did this 6 years ago, 5 years ago, when you didn't pay him the first time. It's a very unique situation. Every penny for Dak with the way that market could potentially be is kind of a crazy figure. So, Dak Prescott could take $57 million right now from the Cowboys. That would be him taking less, because he's months away from the open market. Lamb was 3 years away from the open market, 2.5 years away, I guess. It's different situations. So grade that CeeDee Lamb deal for me. It's a very good question, though, from Ecuador, man. I do want to make that clear. Grade the Lamb deal. A, B, C, D, or F. 83% going A, 12% going B, 3% saying C. D or F have a 2% vote there. I might give it a B on principle for taking so long. I might. This should have been done a while ago. If you had been proactive and said, CeeDee Lamb will make you the highest paid wide receiver this time last year, do you think Lamb and his agent would have said nope to that? If they had given him a real $30 million per year deal, would they have said no? I don't think so. Instead, they wait a year, pay a couple extra million more per year. It also, the second Justin Jefferson got signed, if we would operate on the theory of, Lamb wanted to wait for Jefferson, cool. That was 3 months ago. They could have done that one earlier. It's just frustrating. You could have saved some more cap space and spent more money elsewhere if you'd been proactive. They chose not to be. It happens. So grade that Lamb deal A, B, C, D, or F in the comments section. B is B for taking too long. Yeah. It's just I made the comment this morning on our earlier video. When Jerry was being all cagey and not talking about where they were at, I'm like, okay, that they're actually close now. They're actually quite close to getting that deal done. Glad it's done. Wish it had been done sooner. I feel more relief than I do excitement. I also know this part. The Cowboys are going to have their open practice at the Star this week. They didn't want to have Lamb not there. That was like their real deadlines. Like, oh, we don't want to have every fan going, where's CD? Where's 88? They wanted to avoid that. As we all predicted, they caved on everything, right? He got the $34 million he wanted. Got more guaranteed, closer to Justin Jefferson than A.J. Brown and everything. Got 4 years. He was never actually asking for 35, by the way. He wasn't asking to beat Justin Jefferson. He was asking to be behind him. Took you long enough to get to the deal we all thought was going to happen. So why did it take so long? That's my mindset. I'm glad it's happened. But still, it didn't take that long. To answer your question, John, we'll mention this in our full cut we'll get to here in a little bit. No details yet on like the actual like structure, the year-by-year structure. My guess is if most teams, if you're paying this guy this much money, you're going to make that base salary this year part of the signing bonus that he got. So you're going to bring down that $18 million-ish he was owed and make it like the vet minimum. So you'll probably save about $9 million on the cap this year. You know, give or take, it's a little bit flexible there. They went with a slightly higher signing bonus than some teams and some players have done in the past. Or I guess receiver, it's the highest. $38 million signing bonus. So it'll probably save you around $9 million. Basically, you take that $38 million, divide it by the 5 that you're able to spread it out over the course of the contract. It is a 5-year deal. So that's $7.6 million per year. He was making about $18 million. You're going to subtract that 7.6, subtract 1.5-ish, give or take, for the vet minimum, and you're at $8.9 million. So there's your savings. So you'll save about $9 million this season. Now, next year, you'll also probably have savings on your cap relative to the $24 million franchise tag. TBD on how much. Over the next 3 years, I think it's always good to view things in a 3-year bucket because that's when about 80%, 70% of the rosters actually switch over. It's pretty heavy roster turnover change, by the way. You'll save between this year, next year, and the year after that, you'll probably save 15, 20, maybe million dollars over the course of that time by paying him now instead of 5th-year option and 2 franchise tags. That's why you pay players. Brian Harrison, a $5 super chat. I think Dak deal will get done now that CeeDee's deal is done. It's just Jerry's style to drag shit out like this. Says $300 million on a 5-year deal for Dak. That's $60 million per year. I think the guaranteed money would be a pretty big factor in that conversation. Dallas has always liked longer deals. They're not afraid to pay you once and then move on from you, historically speaking. Not how NFL teams or agents have done business these days. I'm still unconvinced that Dak gets paid. The Cowboys have even less leverage than they normally do. And for a team that struggles accepting that and negotiating as part of it, I have my doubts. Frankly, I think if a deal gets done, it's because Dak said, I'll take less than I could potentially get on the open market. And if you're Dak and or Todd France, you're going, well, why would I wait for that? I can just do that next offseason. I can take less before I hit free agency. That's why it's a bad spot for Dallas, because they screwed this up 5 years ago. JL Chanel, or Channel, however I think Chanel's more fun to... JL Chanel sounds more fun, but maybe it's JL Channel. What's up, bro? It's good CeeDee is signed, but now he has to get into football shape, then game shape. Last thing one is a pulled hamstring. Agreed. I think you've got... Given the training video, so emphasis on that. Look, given what we've seen so far from Lamb, it seems like he's in pretty darn good shape. It is always a concern. You are not wrong to bring that up. Not at all. But I'm not as concerned about that as, like I would be more concerned if it was like a large human being. By NFL standards, CeeDee Lamb is not a large human being. He's about 100 pounds short of fitting that mold there. Ecuador man AOG, hopefully next good news is new number 1 back, not Zeke. I think I'm going to have to drop a toaster in my tub. I really do. They didn't play Zeke in the preseason. This is the point I made previously. Like, it's fine if you want to have Zeke back or a short yardage back, okay, whatever. But people would argue to me, well, why not bring him back on a 1-year deal and have him compete for a roster spot? Because he was never going to compete for one. He was given the job. He was given a spot. and that's fine. I knew that's what they were going to do. It's Zeke and the Cowboys. There's that history there. I think Rico Dowdle's the better back right now. I think he offers you more explosive plays. He was actually better in short yardage last year than Ezekiel Elliott was. He's, I think, not that far behind as a pass returner, as a more dynamic pass catcher. I don't think they're going to trade for somebody. I would love to get Khalil Herbert. I would love to get Israel Abanikanda. I think those guys fit what you don't have in the backfield right now. But I am concerned they're going to at minimum, I think they're going to start, quote-unquote, Zeke against the Cleveland Browns. When they walk out there in their first play, Zeke's going to be in the backfield. Now, does he get the starter snaps? I'm not as certain. But I think he's going to start for you. And that's what this team wants to do. They have swore up and down. Zeke played great last year down the stretch for New England. He didn't. He straight up did not. He was outright bad. He was worse than he was in Dallas down the stretch. Maybe a better O-line helps him, but the Patriots' issues were not ground game related last year. It was their passing game and pass blocking and pass catchers were all terrible. Now, we're focused on CeeDee Lamb, of course, today. If you are excited, if you are relieved even, or pumped for the Cowboys to get that deal done with CeeDee Lamb, show it by liking today's show. Again, if you are just now tuning in, it is a 4-year, $136 million contract extension for CeeDee Lamb. It is $100 million guaranteed. That's $34 million per year. So closer to Justin Jefferson than A.J. Brown in all the details that matter. 500 likes, I think, is our next goal there. We're at 340. We've got a real chance to get there on that front. So like the video if you guys haven't already done so. We're going to go in-depth, break down the deal here for the Dallas Cowboys and for CeeDee Lamb. So again, like that video if you guys haven't already. We're at 372. There's almost 2,000 people watching live right now. I think we have the ability to get there. So if you haven't, I am once again asking you to like today's show. Chris B., I see your super chat. We will come back to that here in a little bit, so stay tuned for that one. We're going to go in-depth on the CeeDee Lamb deal and the contract details that we know so far, coming up right now. Welcome into the Cowboys Report. I am Tom Downey, and CeeDee Lamb has finally gotten his deal done with the Dallas Cowboys. It is a, as expected and almost exactly what we had predicted, extension for the Cowboys and for Lamb. It is a 4-year, $136 million contract extension. There's $100 million guaranteed, a $38 million signing bonus, which teams really don't worry too much about what that signing bonus ends up being. Some of it's just flow and contract, etc. But Lamb, as expected, gets a deal closer to Justin Jefferson than A.J. Brown. This could have been done 3 months ago after Jefferson got signed, but hey, at least the deal did get done. And at least we don't have to worry about him skipping games. Now, if you are pumped to pay CeeDee Lamb, then type 88 in the comment section of today's show. This was a no-brainer for me. If you wanted to win games now, you need your superstar wide receiver. If you want to rebuild, new young QB. That young QB is going to benefit from having CeeDee Lamb on the roster pretty simply. And you got to pay somebody. It's now one of like 3 players under contract long-term for the Dallas Cowboys. So get your 88s for me in the comment section of today's show. The contract details, we'll see if any of the nitty-gritty changes things here. But 4 years, $136 million. That is an average per year of $34 million. And the guaranteed money is $100. In the last couple of weeks, our projection had been 4 years, $135. That ends up being $33.75 and $101 million guaranteed. So right on the money there with a pretty good guess because we all knew what this deal was going to look like. When Justin Jefferson got paid, that kind of set the, okay, it's going to be a little bit less than this, but more than what A.J. Brown got. Why it took the Cowboys almost 3 months after Jefferson to pay Lamb, I don't know. They didn't really save anything. It was the deal everyone expected all along. It shouldn't have taken as long as it did. So, as I've said before, I'm not as excited, hyped, over the moon as I would have been if this had been done 3 months ago. If this had been done this time last season. You could have overpaid CeeDee Lamb a year ago, given him a true $30 million per year contract. People said, wow, what an overpay. And now you're looking at, wow, that was a steal. That could have saved you several $1,000,000 per year. Once Jefferson got paid, it was less about saving money and more about saving time. They did not. And they get cap savings. We'll go more on that in depth in a little bit here. But it's a little late to use those cap savings on outside free agents. The pinned comment on today's show is this. Grade the CeeDee Lamb deal. A, B, C, D, or F in the comment section, the pinned comment actually, of today's show. On principle, I might just give it a B because you waited so long. Because there's a but involved. They got the deal done. They eventually paid the market rate, but it took forever. And it shouldn't have had to take forever in this particular case. It should have just been done. It's CeeDee Lamb. He is a critical part of this country. You could have had this Lamb deal done weeks ago, but you continued to drag your feet and not figure things out, and it's frustrating. Now, salary cap wise, again, we don't have the true nitty-gritty details of the contract. Given historical preferences and previous deals, you're probably going to take that base salary, which is almost $18 million for Lamb, make it part of the signing bonus, like smart teams do, and bring it down to as low as possible. So it's $1 million and change. So factoring in all that in, you prorate the signing bonus out over 5 years, you're probably going to save around $9 million. That's plus or minus, maybe more minus than plus on that front, but it's going to be right around that $9 million figure, maybe just under it. What will Dallas do with said $9 million? They'll roll it over to next year. Any unspent salary cap space goes into next season. If the Cowboys, they could have freed up that $9 to $10 million, even more potentially, on how the deal had been structured, if they wanted to get that deal done in March. They did not. They got it done today instead. So they save money, and they probably save upwards of 20 over the next 3 years with this early extension by not doing 2 franchise tags. But it could have been more. More on Lamb to come. But today's show is made possible by Game Time. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets to your next big event. That is comedy, concerts, theater, football games, of course, as well. Download the Game Time app today over at over at GameTime.co. Use promo code ChatSports for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, but create your account at GameTime.co. Redeem code CHATSPORTS, ChatSports, for $20 off. Game Time has a new feature. It's called Game Time Picks. Makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. It filters out the fluff to only show you incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste your time searching through thousands of tickets. Links will be in the comment section and the description of today's show. That's code ChatSports over at GameTime.co. So let's, with fancy, colorful graphics, lay out where Lamb sits among the highest paid wide receivers. He slots in just behind Justin Jefferson, but closer to Jefferson than A.J. Brown, as he should have. He's younger. He's more dynamic. He's better. And he had only 1 year left on his deal. So that's $34 million for Lamb. He is now second among the highest paid wide receivers with guaranteed money. I still maintain the guaranteed money was the bigger sticking point between the Cowboys and Lamb. 34, 33 and a half, whatever it was. That's not that big of a difference. But, $110 million for Jefferson versus 84 for A.J. Brown actually is a pretty sizable difference. And once again, they come in between the middle and get closer to CeeDee Lamb. Or get closer to Justin Jefferson with that split the difference there. He's also now among the highest paid non-quarterbacks. He is now tied with Nick Bosa, both Bosa and Lamb making $34 million per year. And the highest paid non-QBs with guaranteed money, he's tied for third with Myles Garrett and as well. That's why I did 101 on my guess for the guaranteed monies to get him just ahead of that. He ends up tying Myles Garrett there. It's the deal we thought it was going to be. It just took months later than it probably should have. Folks, this is the best place for breaking Dallas Cowboys news. We'll have roster cuts for you tomorrow as well. That's 4 p.m. Eastern is the deadline. Maybe we get the news even a little bit earlier. Hit that sub button if you haven't already. YouTube.com/CowboysTV. Lamb had one of the most productive seasons in history at the wide receiver spot. He had 135 catches on 181 targets. He had almost 1,800 yards, 12 touchdowns. And there's the chance that that's even better from that perspective. That's significant. So, look, Lamb last year among receivers, right? First in catches, second in yards, only fifth in target share. They threw it a lot. They probably will throw it some more too. First in yak. That's yards after catch. He's great once the ball gets in his hands. First in expected points added per play. Fifth in yards per route run. He's a superstar wide receiver. So whatever your plan is for this team, we'll have Dak conversation, I'm sure, plenty. You want to keep Dak and win now? You need him. Otherwise, your passing offense is not very good. You want to let Dak leave and rebuild? This is the exact type of player who you build around. A 25-year-old all-pro wideout who works with your top 10 QB, pay that guy if you want to win games. If you're plugging in insert young receiver here, or excuse me, young QB here, you want Lamb to help make him look better, help him grow. Last thing you want to be is out there, next year you want to throw passes, let's say it's insert whatever QB you lose Dak to, it's Jalen Tolbert and Jalen Brooks? Like, no, you needed Lamb. So it took forever to get this deal done. I'm glad it is done. I want you guys to rank CeeDee Lamb among NFL wide receivers. Is he first, second, third, fourth, whatever? Let me know in the comments where CeeDee Lamb ranks among wideouts. Now, updated wide receiver depth chart looks like this as we're getting closer to the official cuts here. Cowboys did cut several receivers already. It's down to 9 right now. CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks, Jalen Tolbert, Kevontae Turpin, Jalen Brooks. I think those 5 guys are safe. The other 4 players on the roster for now are Ryan Flournoy, Jalen Cropper, Kelvin Harmon, Racey McMath. Those guys aren't going to make the roster. One of them at most will. I would lean towards Ryan Flournoy being that 6th receiver. If they keep one, they may or may not choose to do so. All right, the news again. Lamb, 4 years, $136 million. I'm going to read off this Jane Slater tweet here. 2 sides. This is some good info from Jane. I have not read this yet, so we're going to find out together. 2 sides off and on in recent weeks. Started getting steam Saturday. For a long time, the Cowboys were at $32.5 million average per year. Then moved to 33. Lamb's been at 34 forever. In the end, it came in at 34. Whomst among us could have seen that one coming? Come on. Working on getting physical done, typing up the language, finished by tomorrow afternoon to sign. Jerry leaves Tuesday for owners' meetings, so Lamb could practice tomorrow, and then Lamb will meet with the media as planned Wednesday, or Jerry will meet with the media plan is on Wednesday. There you go. Why were they not at 34? Why were they offering 32.5? Like that's not high enough average per year. And that means that the guarantees were low too. Classic Cowboys. Chris B, thank God for sure, though Chase would get paid before. The Jamar Chase one is tricky because he's got more team control, and he did show back up to practice for the Bengals, by the way, from his hold in. But I wonder if Chase is going to get more than Justin Jefferson. Or because he's going to get more than Lamb. Would he take 138 and 105 guaranteed? Maybe. I don't know. It's tricky there. Danny 805C, what does that do to the salary cap? It's going to free up about $9 million this year. I've not plugged in my best guess on how it's structured. I've learned to not bother with that because by the time I finish it after my day is over, it was 8 hours later it's announced, and it just kind of defeats all the time it takes for me to do that there. But he was going to make $24 million on a franchise tag next year, $29 million after that. So it's going to save about $9 million this year as opposed to no flexibility on those franchise tags. So over the next 3 years, I think it's always good to do little 3-year buckets. That's when rosters kind of get pretty heavily flipped over, talking 70%, even higher sometimes. You're probably going to have saved around $20, $25 million. That depends on how they structure it. Probably would be the latter there. I wouldn't be shocked if what this team does is they add a 5th void year and they add another roster bonus next year that they can flip and turn into basically paid out signing bonus stuff there and push that money off further. Because that's what you do with a player like this. CeeDee Lamb is the type of guy you're actually okay having dead money for in the future because it means you haven't paid him much short term. And you should never do that with your core players. Paying your old guys, different conversation. But your young players, you do that. You do that. Damian Isaiah, odds 1 to 10, Dak gets signed this year after this. I don't think there's any change. I know I've seen a lot of those comments okay, now it's Dak. Well, wait a minute. We always thought Lamb was going to get paid. I never thought he wasn't going to. I was just mad it was taking so damn long and when it was going to happen. I know that your receiver would like to have Dak back beyond this year. He doesn't want to have unknown entering year 2 of his entering the first real year of his contract. He does not want that. But how do both sides feel? I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure. So rank Lamb for me among NFL wide receivers. 1, 2, whatever. Where do you rank him? So I think it's pretty clearly top 5. And on principle, I might take him number 2 in my fantasy draft now on Wednesday. I was not going to. No, I might just say F it and do it. Top 3, 4, 1, 2, 1. Third. I think third's reasonable. Maybe it's over under either 2.5, 3.5 is the right spot there. I'm not mad at 2 either. I think it's Justin Jefferson number 1. And then it's okay, do you take the older guy in Tyreek Hill and Devontae Adams, or the younger guys in Lamb and Chase? I think some order that's your top 5. Really good top 5. Top 3, 3, 9, 4. Preston says 6 to 9. Also true. Can't lie on that one there. 1, second or third. 2, 3. Solid 5. Top 3. I think for the most part, there's that consensus of as high as 2. I didn't see very many 1s. And then mostly 3s, some 5s mixed in there. There's a 1 from Brian Perry. Third, 2, top 2, 2. All reasonable. I think you could definitely make arguments for any of those top 5 guys. Adams, Tyreek Hill, Lamb, Jefferson, Chase. Chase probably had his stock fall because he was hurt last year and the QB was hurt, and that's how that tends to go in those conversations. Probably won't pick too many Devontae Adams because that quarterback play in Vegas is going to be real bad. It's not going to be very good. Jonathan says third behind Jefferson and Hill. Jefferson, Chase, Hill, Amon-Ra, Adams, Lamb. Probably flip Amon-Ra and Lamb. I love Amon-Ra. I praise our sun god, but he's not quite a top 5 receiver for me. 2, 2, 3. Fantasy 1, real life 2. Okay. I actually don't mind that answer either. We'll do a mailbag here. Background is this mailbag will be made available on demand after roster cutdown days. TBD went on that front. So don't ask questions about who's going to get cut. You're just not going to get on the show because I don't want to have to edit stuff out afterwards and be like, oh, there we go. Now we don't know what the number is. You'd be asking is Florida going to be a team? Hope so. Maybe, but who knows? Let's see. Other part I'll mention, you can ask about the guys who did get cut already. Just don't ask where they're going to go. So it's going to be a later week mailbag. So plenty. Want to talk contracts? Feel free. Just keep those the reality of it's not going to go after cuts in mind because I got too much content we're going to get to. I'm not going to put out a mailbag beforehand. So get your questions in via hashtag Cowboys or by super chatting. By the way, there were some super thanks that came in throughout this past week. We'll do those on our normal Thursday live show. 2 reasons. 1, I wasn't planning on going live today. I was just going to stick with the news and not have outdated segments. But crazy how that turns out there. End up going live anyway. So the super thanks will feature on Thursday. Got a Cowboys mailbag for you being filmed as part of our CeeDee Lamb extension live show, and I'm sure we'll have plenty of questions on that. From Dylan, 88 is back. Let's see how long it takes to pay 11. I am actually not that mad over Dallas not paying Micah Parsons right now because Micah's kind of made it clear he's going to wait. So that is a next off-season conversation. It could very well be $40 million per year by that time frame. I'm not going to panic over it. It's going to be a dragged out, they'll leak negative stories. There will be negative stories written. It'll be a little bit ugly, frankly. It's kind of how it always ends up going with these big-time contracts. But I think next offseason is the 11 contract conversation video. Speaking of 11, Carlitos Way, would you rather let Micah walk, let Dak, and bring in Shedeur Sanders next year along with father coach? So I want to make this part very clear. Deion Sanders is my all-time favorite football player. I love the swag. I love the attitude. That he was awesome. I have zero desire to make him an NFL head coach. He might work in college. Jury's still out. He might work in college. His entire thing does not work in the NFL. The rule with an iron fist, be the recruiter guy, that can work in college. It's like it's a more extreme, chaotic version of Urban Meyer, which was a disaster in the NFL. So I do not want Deion Sanders as the Cowboys head coach. This place is already a circus. This is how you make it even more of an ugly circus. Now, as for Shedeur Sanders, I am open to having that conversation. I think he's going to have to answer some leadership questions. Guess what, folks? NFL teams don't like it when you quote tweet an old teammate and go, I don't know who you are. That's a bad look. Fair or not, it's a bad look. And also there's this part. If Shedeur Sanders ends up being worthy of that franchise caliber QB, no apostrophe S, then all of a sudden he's not going to get to you in the 20s. Like he's going to go top 10. How do you have a top 10 pick? You're going to be in the 20s most likely. You can afford both, by the way, Micah Parsons and Dak Prescott. Dallas might not choose to do that, though. So who gets paid next? M for Micah Parsons, D for Dak Prescott. P's with both last names, so can't really do that one there. It's the pinned comment on today's video. If that ad comes here on the YouTube side, that's just fine. Take advantage of it. M for Micah, D for Dak. Damian Isaiah, odds 1 to 10, Dak gets signed this year after this. I don't think this has changed. I really don't think the Lamb extension is what we knew it was going to look like. It's going to be the rough numbers, give or take a little bit here or there. They ended up being a bit more give because that's how it was going to go. Like, I don't think it changes your odds going into this morning should be the exact same because I think all of us thought it was going to get done. I don't know what happens with Dak Prescott. I would like to have a decision. Whatever the decision is, I can get on board with this. You want to rebuild? Fine. I can get on board with a rebuild. You want to win games now? Fine. I can get on board with a winning games now. Actually be aggressive. Might not like some of the individual moves, but I can get on board with that being the plan. Right now, the plan is still, we'll see, which I simply don't like. NJ Fresh 23 says Jerry is delusional and thinks that if he waits on every contract, that will deter future players from having leverage or setting a precedent for their holdouts. Insanity at its finest. How many times have we seen a Cowboys player ask for true top-of-the-market money? Now, he saw guys take a little bit less. Terrence Steele did it. Trayvon Diggs did it. Lyle Collins did it. But every time we've seen a player take and say, I'm not settling for less. You're going to pay me what I want, what I am worthy of getting on the open market. Tank Lawrence, Dak Prescott, about to be twice with him now, by the way, Ezekiel Elliott, and CeeDee Lamb, and Zach Martin. All of those times, it got ugly. Or you had to franchise tag somebody. You almost did it with Dez, too. Martin held out once for real, a second time, almost originally the first time around. It got done at the very last second. Lamb got this deal done at the very last second. And every time, what the Cowboys do? They caved. They gave the years and the average per year and the guaranteed money that the player wanted. We knew what this deal was going to look like. So why the hell did it take so long? I mentioned the report on the live show from Jane Slater, right? The Cowboys were at 32.5 forever. Lamb was always asking for 34. Well, guess what? He got the 34. So why'd you wait? Why'd you drag this out? You could have gotten this deal done 48 hours, a week, 2 weeks, not almost 3 months after Justin Jefferson got paid. Why did it take so long? It is the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Today's show is made possible by Game Time. Game Time is the place for last-minute tickets to your next big event. With Game Time, you can know you're getting the best deal on your tickets. The Game Time guarantee means you're always getting the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. They've got Game Time picks now as a feature, folks. It filters out the fluff to only show you incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. So download the Game Time app today over at gametime.co. Create your account. Use code CHATSPORTS, that's CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. But again, create your account, redeem code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, for $20 off. Danny805C, I will mention, by the time this mailbag comes out, we will probably know what the actual salary cap hits and structure are going to be. My guess, based on previous history, other moves, etc., is that this deal's probably going to save around $9 million on the 2024 salary cap. There is a chance it comes in a little bit less. Maybe it's more like $8 million. I don't think it come in that much higher. That's assuming that they spread out that signing bonus over the course of 5 years and that they lower that base salary to the vet minimum. No guarantee of that. I would assume that's what it ends up looking like. Big thing, though, and we'll see the exact details whenever it comes out. Over the next 3 years, you're going to save $20-something million, again, estimation, give or take, as opposed to paying the fifth-year option premium and the first franchise tag and the second franchise tag. You save a significant amount of money by paying your player early because you benefit from having what in totality is 5 years, because that fifth-year option stays. It's just the new deal gets tacked on to it. Ecuador man AOG, hopefully the next good news is a new number 1 RB, not Zeke. I have my doubts. Maybe it's, Rico Dowdle gets the majority of the touches, but I fully expect week 1, snap 1, Zeke Elliott's out there at running back. Does he get the majority of the snaps? Does he get the majority of the touches? I don't know. But this team loves Zeke. We might not agree with it. I don't. He wasn't good last year for New England. He was straight up bad down the stretch. Wasn't efficient. Wasn't explosive. I don't think it's a good idea. But he's on this team. That one was never in doubt. So between now and we'll extend it to the start of the season, week 1, will the Cowboys add another active roster running back? Practice squad does not count. Y for yes, N for no in the comment section of today's show. Danny Whitney, hype Tom, but like you said, it took too long. Doesn't feel as good as I would have liked. This is in reference again to the CeeDee Lamb contract. Again, it could have been done months ago. You could have paid CeeDee Lamb so long previously. You could have paid him a year ago. I do not believe if you had gone up to Lamb and his agent and said, hey, we want to make you, $4 4 years, $30 million per year, actual per year, not fake like the Tyreek Hill deal. We'll make him the true highest paid wide receiver in football. If you had presented that to him in August, would they have said no to that? I don't think so. And that would have saved you money. They chose not to. And now they're still paying the cost of the premium for it. GH24, it's over for now. If it was this bad with CeeDee, imagine Micah. Look, we know exactly how the story plays out for Micah Parsons, right? Don't we know how it plays out? We get to March, start a free agency, but Micah has not been paid. And they're doing their spiel at, we don't have any money in the banana stand to pay anybody in free agency. We got all these guys. You could pay Micah and free up big-time cap saving short term. They're not going to. We'll get to the preseason, to training camp, to mini camps. Micah's not there. And they're going to do, Micah, you said you were a leader, and yet you didn't show up because you don't have a new long-term deal. And they'll use that as a negative story. And then he'll ask for the top-of-market deal. The Cowboys will say no. Micah will say yes. And if they pay him, assuming they haven't done anything weird with that roster overall, they'll say, you know what? Fine. And they'll give him everything he asked for, except months later at a cost that was even more of a premium. If you guys have not already, make sure you are subscribed at youtube.com/Cowboys TV for more free Dallas Cowboys YouTube videos. The news of the day, CeeDee Lamb, a 4-year, $136 million extension with the Dallas Cowboys. $100 million guaranteed on that front. So significant amount of money on that one. Some super chats that the super chat stuff being weird, not all of them came through. So we'll get to some of those as we can here. I want to shout out Michael Ryan for his super chat. I think the last one we're going to have is maybe Brandon, but I kind of doubt it. He's just Ecuador, man. That's fine. I want to mention Brandon here. Says, rough day to be Quinyon Mitchell. This means you can't reasonably pay both Dak and Micah right now. You can. You absolutely can. Don't let the Cat Boys tell you otherwise. You can. If you want to. Now, if you determine you don't want to, okay. That's fine. But don't sit there and tell me you can't. Yes, you can. I see other teams paying more money. The Eagles and Browns are paying double the amount of guys worth over $10 million in you. Double. And they've all got big-time contracts, too. You can afford to do it. You absolutely can. Ecuador man AOG, I guess I should drink for this one. It's a throwback. Did Earl Thomas get cut, or is he a free agent? Been a free agent for a long time. I can't say I recall a story quite like Earl Thomas, where he was no doubt like one of the best players at his position. He was upset with the way things ended in Seattle. He flips off the sideline, like we all knew what that was intended for there, because they didn't pay him. He got hurt. Gets paid by the Ravens. Doesn't last that long because he was just going rogue. And apparently he had turned into such a bad locker room player that the Texans were going to sign him. And the players were like, no, we don't want him here. That was kind of crazy. And now he remains unsigned and was doing weird stuff with his brother. Allegedly. I think there were some other super chats. Back-to-back, look at that. That worked out pretty well for you. Is Dak gone next year? I don't know. They say they want to pay him. We'll see. That's their strategy right now. We'll see. It's a bad strategy. Ali Boreas? I think I got that wrong, but I'm sorry, Ali. Why don't the Cowboys ever front load these contracts? I get we can free $9 million this year, but free agency is over. We have a full roster. The save money this year will likely not be used. It's a good question. The reason why is that money rolls over. So if you don't spend the money, it carries over to next year. This is not an example of our budget is $500 million. If we don't spend it, we lose it. It's an example of maybe $200 million. It's a $200 million budget. If you spend $180, that $20 goes on top of next year's budget. So, because the salary cap is always rising, because it's not a use it or lose it scenario, you're actually better off just maximizing your available cap space and then rolling it over. That way you have flexibility to do something if you need to. So the Browns' strategy, by the way, remember I mentioned the Browns have spent all this money. They've been throwing money left and right. They've got all this spending going on. They've got like 10 players making more than $10 million per year. And the Niners have kind of a similar strategy. The Browns and Cowboys have about the exact same amount of salary cap space. The difference in active cap spending right now, though, is about $36 million between the Browns and the Dallas Cowboys. Now, the cash is even higher, by the way. The Niners have $51 million because they're going to roll a bunch of that stuff over. Same with the Patriots and Lions, spent all that money this year. They've got $42 million. The cash is what to always pay attention to, the cash spent. Cowboys are average at best most years, often below that, in actual cash spent. The cap spending, they got cap space to spare. Now, they're a top 5 team in cap space next year, even with the dead money for Dak Prescott and Zach Martin and Tank Lawrence. They got money. At some point, they got to spend it. We shall see when they choose to do that. All right, more super chats coming in here. Next up is Abjit Pawar, who's got a $5 super chat. As you can see, we got to do the mirroring because YouTube's being dumb here. Could CeeDee be a superstar with another QB other than Dak? Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I'll answer this as a QB worse than Dak because, of course he'd be a superstar with Patrick Mahomes, right? If he's on the Lions with Jared Goff, if he's in Philly, which is maybe pretty comparable, those two, I think he's still a superstar. He's awesome. He makes plays. Now, he works with Dak, and that should be acknowledged. That duo works. They are one of the better quarterback wide receiver duos in football. If he goes to the, let's say, one of the worst quarterback rooms, if he goes to the Raiders, is he having the same level of success? No. But I still think he's putting up over 1,000 yards. I think pretty easily. I think Devontae Adams will do that this upcoming season. If he goes somewhere like Denver, Denver's excited because they have a young receiver to help make their quarterback better. I think anywhere he goes, he is a legitimate wide receiver. Are we putting him in the top 2 conversation? Maybe not. Because just the raw production might not be there. But he was a great prospect coming out of Oklahoma, and he's lived up to it. All right, next up on the Super Chats from Jimmy Productions. Trey Lance is the quarterback to tank us to a top 5 pick. Oh, that's not the most recent one there. You got to scroll back up. Other than to draft Arch. So, Trey Lance tank commander, I think, is a better strategy than Trey Lance is actually the future. I thought he got better from week 1 to week 2, and then he threw 5 interceptions. That was just not very good. So Trey Lance, tank commander, okay, it's a plan. If Arch is what we think he is, you have to have that top 5 pick. Also, I think in general, these questions, these comments make more sense if you view it as insert QB here, as opposed to a specific one. Arch Manning might not be good. That's a very real possibility. Because if his last name wasn't Manning, would we be talking about him in this same vein? Would we be? I kind of doubt it. I don't know if you'd having that exact same, oh man, Arch Manning's going to be a future top 5 pick. I think he's good. I think he can be good. We haven't seen him. All right? Because, remember, that same quarterback class, one of the other hype guys, Malachi Nelson. Malachi Nelson couldn't win the job at Boise State. They're these guys that haven't played actual football, completely unknown quantities. Is Dante Moore any good? Is Jaden Rashada any good? Is Nico Malavia, however you pronounce it, Tennessee, is he good? Jackson Arnold. Those guys might be good. They might be really good. But I don't know if they're going to be top 5 pick good. We have no idea. We haven't seen them play. So we do have to acknowledge that as hey, to get to the top 5 pick, sweet. I wouldn't necessarily lock yourself into one QB. We should learn that lesson with the tank for Tua conversation. He ended up being pretty good. Joe Burrow was better. He came out of nowhere. So somebody might emerge this year or next year. But you got to get that top pick. And you're not set up to do that right now. All right, next super chat here is from Hunter M. Tom, you think Jerry Jones drags out contracts only for media purposes to get publicity for the team? I want picks for Micah to get a new QB 2026. You. My plan, first off, Jerry does it to an extent. They also think they think that they can win the deal doing it this way. They've never won a deal doing this, have never done it, and they never will win a deal. They might get the same deal they were going to get, but they've never won a deal. But I don't think he views all publicity as good publicity. It's stupid. Look, I think that is a viable strategy. I think if that was your strategy, I would have gone more extreme. I would have done that stuff this year. I would have said, Dak, hey man, we're going to rebuild. Where do you want to go? At that point, I don't even care what you get back because he's got the leverage still. The best case is you maintain a third-round pick for comp pick purposes, but you can't spend in free agency, so you're not getting better that offseason. I think like if you want to get a new QB for 2026, this is a good way to go about doing it. You're also worsening your defense, and you run the risk of, okay, now you're even a worse team, and it takes longer to get out of that cycle. I would have embraced the full-on rebuild button back in March. You kind of can't do that now. With the quarterback, you missed your window. But if you want those picks, trading Micah is how you do it. He's the only one that makes sense of like the big three to do it now. I would probably adopt it. I'll try to win in a 3 to 4 year window and then rebuild. But what I don't want to do is do nothing and let the quarterback decide if he wants to stay or go. I would have had some semblance of team control here, and I think you've lost that with the way you've handled that entire quarterback thing. Because I don't think it's going to be smooth. It ain't going to be smooth contracts for Micah either. I also have this part. Who trusts them to win a potential Micah Parsons trade? Who trusts them? Or are they going to lose that deal like they did the Amari Cooper trade? Just throwing it out there. All right, Demarius, a $2 super chat. When would you pay Tyler Smith if you were Jerry? So you cannot pay him right now. You have to wait. You have to wait until after his third season. So after this offseason, you are eligible to pay a player. So Tyler Smith can get paid in March, whenever. I would try to pay him sooner than later. Because if you think Tyler Smith is your next Zach Martin, or ish, and you're going to have him for 7+ years, pay him now. Because I can backload that contract. I can have him under team control. I can maximize my short-term and long-term spending and cap flow by paying him. What do I think Dallas will do? They got the Micah contract next year. Then the Tyler Smith contract. That's what I think ends up happening. But he's eligible after this offseason. Got to pay players. You haven't paid very many so far. All right, grade the CeeDee Lamb deal. A, B, C, D, or F. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. It's also the pinned poll, by the way. 75% voting A on that front. A, B, C, D, or F. Grade that CeeDee Lamb contract extension. I would go B on principle because you took too long. I'd have been a lot. I'm clearly not in a bad mood. Like I'm happy today, but I'd have been a lot more excited if this had been done in March. If it had been done 3 months ago after Justin Jefferson got paid. If they'd paid him a week after Jefferson, okay, great. It was the same deal a day after Jefferson got paid. It is the exact same deal. They didn't save anything. They paid premium guaranteed money. They paid the years that Lamb wanted. He got the average per year he was asking for. He's asking for 34 the entire time. The entire time he was asking for $34 million per year. Why didn't you just do it earlier? You gave him everything he was asking for. He was at 4 years for a while. Might have started at 3 years. He moved to 4 pretty quickly. The Cowboys wanted 5 to 6. Come on. Let's get with the times, Jones boys. No one's doing a 6-year deal anymore. It's great if you can make it happen. No one's doing it. The days of you giving Ken Hamlin a 6-year deal in free agency are dead. Just not going to happen. I think it was Ken Hamlin. Let me check that. Was it Ken Hamlin? Or was it Sensabaugh who got the 6-year deal from the Dallas Cowboys? Now I'm trying to do stuff on the fly here. It was a 5-year deal. One of those Cowboys got a, yeah. Gerald Sensabaugh, 6-year deal with the Dallas Cowboys. He got $4 million guaranteed. What's the fakest contract? 6 years, $25 million, $4 million guaranteed. Okay. It's cool. Whatever. He played 2 years of that. Those days are gone. Players want short deals now. That's just how it works. You could have done this 3 months ago. Could have had some more money available. Could have had some better will from the fan base. Instead, on the day before, Ross gets like, okay, thank God it's done. That's where we're at. It's a thank God it's done status. Just frustrating. So grade that Lamb deal. A, B, C, D, or F. Any word on where we're at with the cut? No, I'm sorry. I meant the cuts, player cuts video. Okay, that's fine. Okay, whatever. That's fine. Grade the CeeDee Lamb deal. A, B, C, D, or F. So, Jerry doesn't want goodwill. He wants anxiety that drives clicks and views. You're not wrong. You're not wrong on that front. It's been he likes the attention. He likes the attention. That's how it tends to be there. Looks like the listicles are done if you want to just start reviewing those. If you haven't already. Coming up here in a little bit, what I was doing, or in the middle of doing, I guess is proper grammar there. The Cowboys actually cut a bunch of players today. They cut, and we'll get to Jimmy Production Super Chat momentarily. They cut, let me do my math here. Now I lost my sheet. There it is. I've got them at 15 players in some capacity have been cut earlier today by the Dallas Cowboys. So we're going to break that down here in a little bit. It takes us some time to review the graphics and everything and make sure there's no chaos there. I want to get to Jimmy Productions, $5 super chat here. I think it's a pretty good question, too. Says, is Cooper Beebe our future right guard, or will we need to draft one? Well, Beebe is your center. He won the job. I'll give him credit. He went from, well, looks like it's going to be Brock Hoffman at center to Beebe's getting a chance, and he won the job in 2 weeks. 2-week time frame for him to win that job and take it. He did not play in the preseason finale because he is the starting center. I do think your future right guard is on the roster. I think his name is TJ Bass. I thought he played pretty well when pressed into duty last year. I think he has the ability to handle that spot. He's also super cheap still. So if potentially Zach Martin retires after the season, then you have a very cheap right guard who I think is a starting caliber player. I think that stuff, other backgrounds are still wrong too though. I think that stuff is valuable. The different shades of blue. Yeah, so just move them all down there. Behind the scenes stuff for the graphics coming up here for the cuts. So I think Cooper Beebe is your starting center week 1. He's your long-term starting center, fingers crossed. And I would look at TJ Bass as your right guard option. And he also might need a new right tackle next year. We'll see what happens to Terrence Steele, but his contract is cuttable. If they want to move on from Terrence Steele, they can do it and say, let me pull up the numbers here. If they want to save, get the exact details here so I'm not wrong. Terrence Steele, I want to say it's like $10 million is the maximum they can save, but I don't want to be incorrect and be stupid. Let's see. Let's see if the salary cap sites will load. They're a little tricky today with all the news that's happened. They can cut Terrence Steele. got a $17 million cap hit. And they've got $9 million in dead cap. So $8 million before June 1st or $14 million after June 1st. So they've got, it is very easy to move on from Terrence Steele this upcoming season. Very easy. And he would have paid, whatever, like $30 million over 3 years to have him. It's not that bad of a contract. Cowboys, well, I'm sure, will somehow say they can't pay somebody because of it, but it's not that bad. So the future is a bit uncertain on that right side of the offensive line, but hopefully that left side to center is set. Guyton, Smith, and Beebe. Good question there, Jimmy. I do appreciate that one. We'll get to some more comment drivers here in just a second as we are reviewing the graphics behind the scenes for the cuts that came down today. 15 players cut by the Cowboys, all overshadowed by the CeeDee Lamb extension. Because there was like a 30-minute window in which that had happened. I was very frustrated by that one. Very frustrated. All right, Lamb has now been paid. Who gets paid next? M for Micah Parsons, D for Dak Prescott. M for Micah, D for Dak. Let me know. I think the next payer to be played is Dak Prescott. But I don't know by which team. I don't know. They can afford all three guys if they want to. I don't know if they will want to. I have some doubts. I have some doubts there. Ooh, N for neither. N for neither is fine. Now, I'm talking next as in a fairly longer term view of things, by the way. Fairly long-term view. Because it might... I don't know if it happens this offseason, it's Dak. You've got 2 weeks left. I'd be surprised if there was a mid-season extension. That would actually be kind of a surprise because the Cowboys don't do that very often. So, let's see. Dak, Micah. If we don't have the bios done, let's skip over them. It's fine. It's not a big deal. You can just come to me full screen. 80, another 88. We'll see about the running back market there, Daniel. I have my doubts they're going to be going down that path. I have my doubts. They seem to like their guys. I want to see who gets cut and who's on the trade market. There, I got some guys I'm watching over the next 24-ish hours. TBD on who becomes available, though. So, get those votes in. M for Micah, D for Dak. I'm looking at tweets from June of like, all right, so 4 years, $136, $100 million guaranteed. Like, whomst among us could have seen that one coming? Like, we all knew what it was going to be. Why did it take so long? It just... Could have had it done 3 months ago. 2.5. I'm going to round up. Because you know what? They've lost the benefit of the doubt. So, all right. Our final portion of today's show is coming up. We're going to break down the initial 15 players, not 14. 15. 15 players that have been released, waived, or waived injured by the Cowboys organization. Part of the first wave of roster cuts. Plenty more still to come for the Cowboys. Let's get into it right now. The Dallas Cowboys have begun their first wave of roster cuts. These coming down like 20 minutes before the CeeDee Lamb extension, so we weren't able to go in order. This was going to be the second video instead of getting a third video, because you know what? News is happening. Do I wish the Cowboys were a normal team and did their big-time extensions in June and not August? Yes. I'll take what I can get, I guess. For the best Cowboys coverage out there, hit that sub button. YouTube.com/CowboysTV. Multiple videos each and every single day, including but not limited to the initial 53-man roster Tuesday afternoon sub so you don't miss out. All right, several players have been waived. Now, these players have to go through waivers. First up is Jason Johnson, the undrafted free agent rookie linebacker. That one, not a surprise. Practice squad candidate, yes, but was not really in contention to make the 53-man roster. Somebody who was Willie Harvey Jr. He had been on many roster projections, so our first surprise of the bunch. He is a practice squad candidate still. I think there is some special teams value, but he didn't seem to see things very well as a pure linebacker. Had a lot of bad run fits, some misreads. I had actually left him off of our, not our final, but our last roster projection. He ends up getting cut and waived by Dallas. Also, no surprise here, Josh DeBerry, the cornerback, another rookie at UDFA. He was probably never going to make this team. Outside shot at the practice squad, but both he and Jason Johnson face other stiffer competition at those positions. A notable name, Eric Scott Jr., the 6th-round pick last year, has been waived by the Dallas Cowboys, and now you wonder, does he end up in Washington? This one, he wasn't playing well. The fact that he was playing behind Andrew Booth and Josh Butler in the preseason is a bad sign. I will say I would assume that the Cowboys had worked on trading away all of these players, that they had tried to find interest and they didn't have an offer, and they said, okay, we're just going to cut you and move on here. Eric Scott might get claimed. If it is, it's probably by the Commanders. If it's not, I bet he ends up on the Commanders practice squad. Get ready to learn Washington, D.C., buddy. Are you surprised that Eric Scott Jr. got cut? It's the pinned comment on today's show. Y for yes, N for no. Go ahead and sound off at that pinned comment, especially if the ad comes here on YouTube. All right, other players waived. We went defense to offense here. Offense is Nathaniel Pete, the running back out of Missouri. He just didn't do much. And there were other players that were clearly ahead of him on the depth chart. So the updated running back room now is Ezekiel Elliott, Rico Dowdle, Royce Freeman, Malik Davis, Deuce Vaughn, Snoop Connor, kind of, sort of, Hunter Lipke, a fullback, tight end hybrid there. They'll carry, if we count Lipke, 4 to 5. Otherwise, not counting him, 3 to 4. I think Elliott and Dowdle are locks. Don't know about that third spot. Offense probably needs Deuce Vaughn a lot more. Special teams might view Malik Davis. And I also think that whoever gets cut between Freeman, Davis, and Vaughn, those guys are prime practice squad candidates. Multiple wide receivers being waived today. Deontay Burnett, he had been signed mid-season after some injury, or mid-camp with some injuries. Not a huge surprise there. Cam Johnson, they view him as a slot receiver. Flashed occasionally in the preseason. He's been cut. Again, not much of a surprise there. Alec Holler, the tight end, also waived. Again, he was like the 7th tight end on the roster, so he was never in position, really. I don't know if any of those guys end up making the practice squad, especially at tight end. You're going to have Jake Ferguson. You're going to have Luke Schoonmaker. I think you'll have John Stevens. Not sold on that one, though, necessarily. Maybe Peyton Hendershot gets interest from a different team. Princeton Fant, Brevin Spanford. Those guys feel like practice squad candidates at this time. Dallas has taken 4 in most years. If they view Lipke as a tight end option, that's somebody you can go lighter at, or the spot you can go lighter at for the tight end area. All right, one offensive lineman wave, that was Cole Cabral, the offensive lineman. I actually think did a pretty decent job coming in off the streets and surviving at multiple different offensive line spots, but he was never going to make the roster. You'll see Chuma Adoga and Earl Bostic end up on IR. Adoga's probably going to be a day of injured reserve placement tomorrow to miss at least the first 4 games without the Washington to get 2 of those guys. So it'll be Adoga and Bland, I think. A couple spots up for grabs. Pick 1, maybe 2 of Josh Ball, Awesome Richards, and Matt Waletzko. Would not be surprised if Nathan Thomas was just straight up put on IR. He's missed a lot of time. Hasn't been healthy, but they did draft him, and they typically find ways to buy extra time for those drafted players. Today's show is made possible by Game Time. Game Time is the best spot for tickets to your next football event, which I don't get to go to football games, by the way. Got Cowboys games I got to cover instead. But baseball games, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. My wife really wants to go to Post Malone and see his new country album. She really wants to do that one. So I use Game Time. They've also got Game Time Picks. It's a feature that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams or musicians, whatever, live even easier. It filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Download the Game Time app today over at gametime.co. Create your account and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. But again, create your account, redeem code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, the lowest price. What time is it? It's Game Time. All right, 3 players have been waived/injured. Allow me to explain what this means. These players are banged up in some capacity, sometimes less than what they have implied to stash them. If they do have to go through waivers, if they clear waivers, they then revert to injured reserve. So David Durden has been banged up. This team likes him. They will get him through waivers, and then he'll revert to IR. Teams can then buy players out of IR. It's pretty cheap. It's just standard, like you give them a couple game checks that in most cases they, oh no, I lost $50,000. You're fine. Or $100,000, whatever it ends up being. Durden, I think, might stick around on IR. Also waived injured is Viliami Fehoko Jr. I don't know if there's an injury or not, or if this is Dallas trying to buy an extra year for Fehoko. He might get claimed if he's healthy by the Commanders. Would not surprise me. They have the number 2 waiver claim. Again, I trust the Cowboys tried to trade these guys. And sometimes they even pull them back last second and find a trade partner there. But Fehoko Jr. waived injured. So too was Darrell Johnson. So again, all these guys will go through waivers. I doubt Johnson gets claimed either. Then get placed on injured reserve. Will either stay for the entire year or get bought out. So you're probably trying to buy some time with some of these available options. So it leaves guys like Marshawn Nealon, Micah Parsons, Tank Lawrence, Carl Lawson, Chauncey Golston as your edges. Al-Quadin Muhammad will serve a short suspension. I doubt Tyrus Wheat makes the roster, but as of now, he has not been cut. So this is a funny one, but I think it's going to be accurate. How many former Cowboys is Dan Quinn going to end up adding as we move through the waiver cutdown time? Is it 0? Does he add a couple? Drop that prediction for me in the comments of today's show. All right, back to the players' cuts here. Now, these are cuts. So these players are what's called vested veterans. They will not go through waivers. So no one can claim them. Now, if a team offers them a roster spot, they're going to say yes, obviously. But if not, if both sides are going to go right to the practice squad. Tyron Billy Johnson, first up here. I doubt anyone adds him. He's been on 11 teams since joining the NFL in 2019, or had 11 different stints with teams. That's a lot. He's a journeyman. He impressed in the preseason, or in training camp. Slowed down in the preseason. If you want him on your practice squad, I am convinced you will be able to get him there. So CeeDee Lamb now back. Brandon Cooks, Jalen Tolbert, Kevontae Turpin, Jalen Brooks, I think are all pretty safe. Ryan Flournoy, we'll see. I don't think McMath or Kelvin Harmon or Jalen Cropper make the roster, but they have not been cut as of filming. Albert Huggins is next up here along the defensive line. Again, this one is not much of a surprise. I think your defensive tack room is quickly taking shape. It's Osa Odighizuwa, Mozzie Smith, Jordan Phillips, Linval Joseph, maybe Justin Rogers. He might be like player 54, player 55. We'll see. He's a draft pick. Cowboys love their draft picks. They might take him over. Maybe they only go 5 linebackers. Maybe. We'll see. They put Nick Vigil in the practice squad, maybe game day call-up, keep Buddy Johnson. That's all possible. Denzel Daxon will be a practice squad player. He is an international player pathway program, so it's a freebie. They get 17 instead of 16, but you don't have to worry about him getting claimed, I don't think. So name a player who you want to add to the practice squad. Let me know in the comments of today's show. Finally, linebacker Damian Wilson has been released. I don't think he played very well in the preseason. I thought he frankly struggled. So I am not surprised to see him moved on from by the Cowboys organization. That leaves a handful of linebackers still on the team. DeMarvion Overshown, Eric Kendricks, Damone Clark, Maurice Leafau are your locks. Those 4 guys are locks. I think there's 1, maybe 2 more spots up for grabs between probably not Brock Moggensen, for being honest here, but Darius Harris, Nick Vigil, Buddy Johnson, all fighting for those last couple of spots. And we shall see who makes it and who doesn't make it when the final cuts are due in a little under 24 hours. From We Don't Wife These 304s, thoughts on Dan Orlovsky. When he's not doing his shticks, when he is just analyzing the game and not having to be a pure talking head, it's actually pretty good. It's actually really good. There's a lot of good stuff, insightful stuff, smart stuff that he says. When he is trumpeted out by ESPN to name your top 5 NFC QBs, and he has to do something controversial involving the Cowboys, it's not nearly as good. He still thinks Carson Wentz is a top 5 QB if ESPN let him or made him. Like, that's how they do business, and I hate it. I actually like him a lot as a color commentator on games. I think he's pretty good. When he's out there saying Brock Purdy is an elite NFL QB, you're just saying things for attention. That's how it goes. All right, if you guys want the very best Cowboys coverage out there, hit that sub button. I'll put 2 minutes on the stopwatch here. If we get any more super chats, we'll stay live. Otherwise, we will sign off and end today's show so I can get that Cowboys news cut out and so I can get going on the other stuff that we had planned today. It was supposed to be a 2-video day for Cowboys. It turned into a 3-video day. I guess a 4-video day. And a live. That's how it goes sometimes. It makes it fun. Again, why couldn't they have done this in June? That's when I had everything built and ready to go for it. I built this shit in June. When Jefferson got signed, I built it. And look how that one goes there. Ace 1900 wants to know if Deuce Vaughn should be the number 1 running back over Zeke. Here's my take. Doesn't matter how he feel. He's not. They're not going to. They want it to be Zeke. From ownership down, they want it to be Zeke. So it's going to be Zeke. Agree or disagree? That's how they tend to feel there. Get to Ecuador Man's $2 super chat. Appreciate that, my friend. I'll break that one down right now. Sorry. It's a new feature on Macs that gets rid of the screen, and I don't like it. So right. Scott Fehoko. Thanks, Dan. SMH. We saw it coming. We knew it was going to happen. You were right. A lot of other people were right as well that those guys were going to get cut. Bad picks. Frankly, there's a lot of bad picks on the defensive side of the ball that, clearly Dan Quinn guys. I think Dan Quinn did a pretty good job of maximizing the talent to an extent. But, we can just kind of go back and look at his draft history here. The Cowboys draft history since Dan Quinn came on, they got Micah Wright on accident. They didn't view him as a passer. They thought he was an off-ball linebacker. They got that one right. They got Osa Odigizua right. They partial credit for Chauncey Golston. They missed on Deshaun Wright. They missed on Jabril Cox. For where they were drafted, probably fine with Quinton Bohanna and Israel Mukuamu, but nothing special. We still don't know if they got Sam Williams right. They nailed DeRon Bland. Probably a good enough result out of Damone Clark. Not so much for John Ridgeway and Devin Harper. I think they're going to be right on DeMarvion Overshown, but they whiffed on Fehoko and Eric Scott. Happens. This is what happens, and this is pretty true for the Cowboys in general. Schoonmaker was a pretty heavily Mike McCarthy influence pick. When they just let the scouts and the GM just make the decision, that 2020 draft, that was a scouts draft. And that worked out great for them. Let the scouts make the calls. when Rod Marinelli is adamant about drafting Tristan Hill and Will McClick says, okay, fine. Not as good. Not as good. All right, we will sign off here. Appreciate everyone who tuned in for the entirety of today's live show. We will be back live on Thursday, breaking down all the latest on the Dallas Cowboys. Plus, we'll have the roster news for you guys tomorrow as well. Hit that sub button so you don't miss out. YouTube.com/@CowboysTV.